Don, did you want to respond to the question?
At this point, I think I understand your question, and we do get people that are, in fact, fishing in areas where they shouldn't. A lot of it depends on where it is. If I can take just a moment here. I've been doing this for 32 years. And in my career, this marine protected initiative for the marine protected areas is the most wide sweeping law change that I have experienced. And so once they went into effect, it's a situation where do we instantaneously turn all these people who may have been doing this for 40 or 50 years in the same area, we instantaneously turn them into criminals, or do we educate? That's one of the reasons that I'm here today, is to help promote that education. In my experience, if you give people the right information, you let them know what the regulations are, what the rules are, 90% of those people will in fact comply with those regulations. They may not like it, but they will comply because they don't want to be criminals themselves. So initially, when the first set, the Central Coast MPAs went into effect, they went into effect in September of 2007. September 22nd, 2007. Okay? And the problem is, how long do we give people? How long do we continue to push the education and not the enforcement? I have taken a stand with my people that the first year and a half is probably the best mode to go. Number one, we need to get the backing from the court systems. If we're sending people into these courts and they're telling the judge, I've been fishing here with my family for 40 years and I didn't know it changed. Well, where are you from? Well, I'm from a little town of Arvin, you know, in the Central Valley. How many people know where Arvin is, you know? And how close is that to the issue here? I mean, we are all involved in this every single day. Those people may come over here for a 10-day period one time a year. And if they haven't been keeping up on it, we don't want to make criminals out of it. So initially, we didn't actually start issuing citations for people who were venturing into these new marine protected areas until about 2009. So we gave them a good 15 months, maybe a little bit longer in some cases. And the reason was exactly what I talked about. Now, if we had warned people, we were making a note on their fishing license or taking down license plates or CF numbers on their boats, et cetera, to let them know that, okay, we're keeping track of this, and I'm keeping track of you. What are you going to do? So that helped a lot. But if we had repeat offenders, which we did, they instantaneously got a citation, and they ended up in the report being shown to have been repeat offenders on something like this, who did not care about the issues. Now, as far as giving that information to the scientists, individuals have come to me and said, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? One of the things that we're very in tune to, probably more so, and they've already talked about it, are the tidal invertebrates, especially abalone. Abalone has been on a moratorium since the mid-90s, south of the Golden Gate Bridge. We do try to focus a lot of our efforts on invertebrate and abalone violations. So we will have that, sometimes that information available. We give it to different groups that are science-based and some more so recreationally fishing-based and so on and so forth. So that information is out there. Not every case, as far as the numbers of fish taken in an illegal area, sometimes that does not get included in those studies, plain and simple. But You know, I have a degree in biology. I did my graduate work in marine ecology. I know the fudge factors to use. And Mark, you know, just so that you know, if there's ever any questions as to why certain of us do go into those areas that you were talking about, we carry protection. I'm bulletproof. I've got a white shark tooth, so I'm not afraid of that.
How do you usually get to educate people about where the offshore protected areas are?
Do we want to repeat the question?
How do you begin to let the public know about the offshore protected areas? Where they are?
The question is, how do you let the public know about the offshore marine protected areas?
How many people in here speak GPS? That's a problem. You're right. I brought with me, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. I have kind of taken this by the horns, and I've said that the information that our department put out was remiss in getting a lot of that information out. Soquel Canyon and Portuguese Ledge. We went out there with some paint, painted the corners, you know. Water-based paint, you know. But that's a real problem. But you would be surprised with the commercial fishing industry. They know where they're
Yeah. I was going to say there's a real difference between what the commercial fishing community knows and what the recreational fishing community. And the recreational community is who you are all very important in terms of educating because they're more dispersed.
Okay, and we have been working with the foundation, with the sanctuary. I mean, I've worked with almost everybody in this room, you know, on occasion, trying to develop information. Now, in our little booklet, our department, I will say this, is remiss in getting a lot of that information out there. I've expanded it. There are some other people that have helped to expand it. We've got it on charts. We've got it on signs. Ricky and I were in a room one time trying to figure out exactly what we're going to put on the little brown signs over there. Little things like that. We are working with the groups that have the pulse. Okay. The foundation has been extremely helpful with regards to that. We've been dealing with Fitzgerald. They've come up with things on their own. The City of Pacific Grove has come up with things on their own. You know, everybody wants to get that, help get that information out there. So we'll supply the information, and then right now we're involved in putting water signs at all the harbor entrances. Well, majority of even the sport fishermen are upgrading their electronics, and they are able to punch some of this stuff in their manual. Garmin, for an example, is coming up with some of these ports already preloaded and on electronic charts. You know, those of us who are old school and like to read the big chart book, we have to actually draw it into ourselves. So it's just a matter of getting a lot of people involved, the industry, the groups that are our advocates to promote this kind of thing, getting that information out to everybody, and then having them disseminate that information too. So that's kind of how we're doing it. We put the cart before the horse, and it isn't until what 4 months ago that we got these signs. 4 months ago, we got these signs that are up against the wall there, and these MPAs have been in place for 3.5 years. So there is a lag time. There's no question. And that's the reality of it. Because the department itself, we don't have the resources by which, I mean, if we have resources available, I would rather put them into people that are going to go out and check in.
Are there any?
His researchers are doing the right thing.
Are there any other questions for our science panel?